Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Garden of Sports Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Gardner, alongside my brother, Zach.
What's up, everybody?
And our special guest, consistently, Kyle Forsythe.
Welcome to Week 11 prep.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we're going to break into Week 11, standard format.
Nothing gets me more excited than prep.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. We're going to go through our normal format, though. 3x3x3 is where we each give our top 3 pickups for the next coming week. And then we go over surprises of the week, fantasy relevant injuries, and then buy low and sell high trade targets. Hopefully you still have a trade deadline open. So without further ado, we'll jump into it. Wow.
I like that a little.
Just a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
There it was. Glory hole.
All right. Thank you, Jerry.
What do you got, bro?
So I got Christian Watson. He went off this week, his first good week. The young rookie receiver on Green Bay finally made up for his terrible drop in week 1 with a nice catch on a long ball for his first touchdown, and then he proceeded to score 2 more on the day and finished with 30.7 fantasy points, 107 receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns. Just a really great day for the young rookie, and looking like he could potentially be a favorite target of Rodgers now the rest of the season. And the way they're running the ball, him being a nice deep threat on the play action, I think the Packers are going to start putting some things together here the rest of the season, and think he could be a decent part of it. He's starting to come into his own, it looks like.
Right.
Yeah, dude. I mean, they have a lot of injuries to other wideouts, and he's obviously taking advantage of the situation here, and maybe they're going to find a rhythm. I mean, that was against a Dallas defense that's considered pretty good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's supposed to be top 5, so...
There you go.
And low owned, I mean, could be a free grab, especially if you're lower in the waiver ads. You might be able to snag him when you know you can't snag a guy like Darius Slayton or Cole Kmet. Like, a lot of people are going to be going for Cole Kmet, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, for sure. I think regardless, he's probably going to need a waiver ad. You can't have a receiver score 30.7 points and not expect somebody to grab him, you know? So I think he still needs a waiver at this point.
Yeah, he's probably going to be a waiver.
Yeah.
I know for a fact in the league that us 3 are in, deepest freaking league, where like if you look at our waiver wire, it's like rough sauce out there.
That's bad. It's bad. But I would think waiver. I don't think that he's going to get through and just be able to pick up. I think you're going to need to put a waiver in on him.
Definitely, I agree.
What you got, Jake?
True. I have Brian Robinson. He's actually in the game right now, and I'm basically putting him in because of this game. It's the fourth quarter, 23 carries, 79 yards, and a touchdown for 13.9 fantasy points. That's the most carries he's had all year since coming back from getting shot. And he's like who they see as their future at running back, and they're not going to win anything this year. So I think as the second half comes to play here, he's going to keep getting heavy carry games, and he's 50.9% rostered. I think this is your chance to get him if he's still available in your league.
Cool. Yeah. I like that one. Think? I've had him on my bench for a while, so.
Well, in the competitive league, yeah.
Yeah, I've been waiting for him to finally do something. So I mean, I don't know that a lot of people have kept him on their bench, but I just anticipated him maybe at some point popping off. So I just held on to him.
Well, that's great. But what do you think of him as a pickup for other people?
Yeah, I think that just makes perfect sense, as I was going to be getting to that as a good pickup because I've held on to him this whole time. I think that's the logical where I was going to go with that. But yeah, that's my opinion.
Oh my God. Kyle?
Oh my God. All right. My number 1 pick that I have here for the waiver ads is going to be Darius Slayton, wide receiver of the New York Giants. He is 4.6% rostered according to ESPN. Last 3 games, he's had 13.3, 9.1, and then 17.0 in half point PPR. The last game, he went 3 for 4 in receptions, 95 yards, and a touchdown. He is averaging 5.3 targets a game, which is a big share, especially even coming back from their bye that they had. Their next opponent is Detroit, who got absolutely gashed by Chicago this past week. We know that New York has looked really good, and so I've kind of been, at the beginning of the season, we were all kind of staying away from New York, like, no, it's not true. They're going to fall off. They really haven't fallen off. Here's a guy who could be really good on your lineup, could be really good in flex or like a wide receiver too. If you're looking for someone to fill a hole, this is definitely a guy that I'd put it on a waiver for.
Yeah, I mean, they made room for him with getting rid of Kadarius Toney, and I think, I mean, we've been talking about another wide out there too, but this guy should be at least one of the top 2 options the rest of the way. And is this the wideout that played in college with him?
Slayton, like who? They played with who? With Jones?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a really good question.
One of them did, but
I'm not sure. Here, let me go to our Google assistant here. Zach, you do your next one while I look this up.
All right. My next guy, Kadarius Toney. He's been getting dropped in a lot of leagues. Well, my man took offense to that and decided to play some offense. He had 4 receptions for 57 yards and a touchdown, and he had 2 rushes for 33 yards. And that was the first touchdown of his career. So, great job, Kadarius Toney. Hell yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so Kadarius Toney, go give him a look. He's on the Chiefs. So, yeah, why not?
No, I like him a lot, and their number 1 wideout, Juju, went out during the game, and I think they were planning on bringing Kadarius Toney into the fold more anyway. I mean, they paid a pretty penny for him, and now with Juju out, I think it's his chance to really take over. I mean, he's got the speed and athleticism that Patrick Mahomes loves in a receiver, so.
Yes.
Kyle, you got anything? I don't think they did play together.
They didn't. They got drafted in the same draft. They were both drafted in 2019.
Okay.
They both just didn't really perform after that. Slayton really has kind of been kind of a no-name for the most part, not really like super high, at least in fantasy terms, hasn't been super high performing. And then Daniel Jones has been Daniel Jones. This year, I don't know where it's coming from, but I want him to keep it going because it's fun to see. Anyway, as far as Kadarius Toney goes, I think that he's worth the pickup. Like you said, Juju is out with a concussion. Who knows when he's going to be able to come back? You also had injuries to McCole Hardman this past week as well, and the running back group is an absolute mess right now for the Chiefs. So you have no idea who it's going to be the guy every single week. Kadarius Toney obviously got his first touchdown, showing that he could hopefully get some good passes from Patrick Mahomes. I think it's worth the pickup.
Hell yeah.
Nice. All right, my second guy, Deshaun Watson. I wanted a stash QB here. He's going to start in 2 weeks from now, week 13. He was eligible to practice as of today. And we were just talking about last week how these quarterbacks who can pass and run are usually in the top 10 nowadays in fantasy. And
yeah,
I think he could have top 10 numbers to finish out the year, especially if you're someone who had Aaron Rodgers or just QB struggling this year. I would try to go stash him if you can afford a spot.
Yeah, this is a great one. I like this one a lot. It's just good to start talking about him for sure.
Yeah, I just feel like in a week he'll be up to 50 or higher. And
Next week is going to be when like all the plebes are going to be trying to get him. So now's your chance to like galaxy brain it, as we like to say.
Yeah, what did you say last week? The third eye, or?
Yeah, open the third eye.
Oh my God, the Illuminati! Let it awaken within you.
Oh my gosh.
My next guy that I have on here is kind of a fringe flex player, but still, I think someone we're talking about. Donovan Peoples-Jones, wide receiver of Cleveland, 21.9% rostered according to ESPN. Last 4 games in half PPR, he has had 9.6, 8.1, 10.1, and then 12.4 fantasy points. Those are all without touchdowns. So imagine if he had a touchdown in those games, how good they'd be. That just shows that he's getting a lot of honestly getting a lot of volume. Averages 6 targets per game, and each of those including 9 targets this past week. He leads all Cleveland receivers in receiving yards since week 4. He's a possible flex play. It is a tough matchup against Buffalo. However, this is a guy that has shown even through tough matchups without touchdowns that he's able to perform and get you points. Hopefully he can maybe get you a touchdown against Buffalo. Maybe it'll be a game that Cleveland comes out and plays. Like I said, flex, definitely not wide receiver 1 or 2. Still someone to make you maybe pick up.
Yeah, and I think. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jake.
Oh, classic Midwesterner.
Yep. Oop.
Yeah, I think he'll be a great pickup. I mean, he's already doing good now, and then he'll have Deshaun Watson throwing pretty soon. So
that's even something that I didn't even put in here. But if Deshaun Watson comes back, we'll see how he plays when he comes back. But could definitely be a big boon for him for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's not coming off an injury. He was fine.
He's a man of the peoples.
He's been out of it a little while. Sometimes it does funky stuff to people, especially quarterbacks. But we'll see. Well, maybe he'll come back and be not even let off from where he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a revenge game with Houston, week 13, I think.
True.
I don't know. I think he's taking it seriously. I mean, I guess you never know, but hell, they paid him. It's the team that caused all this. I think he's going to be pissed.
I'll just see him go out for like 5 touchdowns, like 400 yards.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Zach,
Zach.
who you got, bro?
Yeah, so I got Cole Kmet here. We've been kind of talking about him the last few weeks. He scored 2 touchdowns. He's a touchdown machine the last 3 weeks. He's got 5 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. He's now second in the NFL in tight end touchdowns. So,
are you serious?
Again, just behind Travis Kelce in total touchdowns for tight ends. So, I mean, that's awesome.
Not Mark Andrews?
Even Mark Andrews doesn't have 5 touchdowns. So,
wow.
Yeah, so he had 1 red zone leaping grab in the end zone. Very nice. He's becoming that red zone target that we all wanted him to be. What?
Go ahead.
Got a question there, Jake?
I was going to say Mark Andrews does have 5 touchdowns.
Oh, so he's tied for second in touchdowns. Then that's what it is.
Okay.
I misread the stat. My bad, everybody. And then he had 1 50-yard blown coverage touchdown where he bumbled, stumbled, rumbled into the end zone. 4 receptions for 74 yards and 2 tutties on the day. Have a day, Cole Kmet, and I think he's going to have more days. So
yeah, and it was all for naught.
Go get him, Cole Kmet.
Only 38.8% owned according to ESPN2, so still relatively low owned, less than 50%. He still could possibly be available in your league.
People did not believe in last week, apparently.
No, they didn't, and I think that it's kind of like the Giants offense. No one really believes in the Bears offense, but they've been too hot too many weeks in a row to maybe not grab a few of these guys that are on that offense. Just kind of see where it takes you.
Yeah, he's got to be the best tight end available. I mean,
I think so.
Especially if you're struggling at the position, which most people probably are. Could grab him. My third guy, Rachaad White. He's only 24.4% rostered. He's the rookie on Tampa Bay. In Germany, 22 carries, 105 yards, 4.8 average, 10.5 fantasy points, and a half-point PPR. And he's getting an increased workload. I think we kind of said how their offense was slow for the first half, but I think you said it, Kyle, that Tom Brady picks it up in the second half, and I think we all kind of expect their offense to just improve from what they've been doing. So, and I think White's going to be part of that. I mean, they're obviously invested in him, so I think he could be a good little stash there. Good little flex play. What do you guys think?
I think so. I mean, anytime that you're going to try and be able to get a possible RB1, especially because Leonard Fournette's out with a hip injury. So I know that I think this week Tampa Bay is on their bye this week.
They are.
Mistaken?
They are.
So this would be like a grab and stash kind of guy, but you never know if Fournette's going to be able to come back even within 2 weeks. They said that hopefully it's going to be okay, but I mean, he was out and didn't return for that game.
Yeah, they're playing it safe probably with the bye week coming in, and
Sure, but he played great. I think that is someone to keep an eye on. I mean, it definitely.
yeah, he did awesome.
I think it's kind of like a why not one, you know?
Yeah, that's why I have him as the third here because he's not maybe as much upside as the other guys we've been talking about, but still potential. And a lot of people's waiver wires are pretty barren.
And I do have a Monday Night Football update. The Eagles got the ball back with 5 seconds left to go. They were doing that, trying to do that miracle play to win the game where they keep backward lateraling it. Well, a guy fumbled it, and Washington ran it in with no time left for another touchdown. Washington has won the game 32-21 over the Eagles.
Whoa.
Oh. No more undefeated.
So,
there it is.
Kind of crazy.
That's good, though. That's a remotivator,
Kind of crazy, but there's always weird stuff that happens in those divisional games,
Oh, God,
yeah.
Well, that's what you always got to be worried about is that the teams that aren't going to really have a chance at the playoffs or anything like that, which no offense, Commanders fans, but not this year anyway.
Yeah.
So those are the teams that kind of come in and they are sneaky. They get them,
Yeah, they play
when they're not
spoiler.
ready. Yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah. So there's your Monday Night Football update. All right, back to you, Garden Sports.
What a theme song. What a theme song. Please record that. Oh my God. That was great.
Kyle, who do you got, bro?
I went with the defense for my third one just because I normally try to do either defense or a kicker for my third. Cincinnati defense, 35.5% rostered. Way dropped after this last week just because they were on a bye coming back. So they probably got dropped, so they're probably available. After a restful week, they go into Pittsburgh to face the Steelers offense that is giving up the third most points to opposing defenses. Also, then last week against Pittsburgh, New Orleans, which is the 29th ranked defense in terms of getting pressure on the QB, had 6 sacks. They are the 29th ranked, and I think overall they're 20-something as well, especially in fantasy. Wondering what the Cincinnati defense can do, especially because they have a lot better backfield. They have a much meaner-looking front seven. Can they get to them? Can they score a whole bunch of points? As far as streaming options go, this is the team that I would pick up.
There you go. That's a good one. Little sneaky cheeky defense there.
Sneaky cheeky.
Sneaky cheeky. That's what they call you, Kyle. Sneaky cheeky.
God, please don't.
Okay. So I won't anymore. But I just, before we move on here to our next one, to our next segment, I got just an honorable mention. And doesn't really fit into the 3x3x3, so this is like kind of a guy that I have right on the outside looking in here, but someone I wanted to mention for everyone. Elijah Mitchell, go give him a look if you're really in need of running back help. He's the backup running back right now on San Francisco, but he was the starter at the beginning of the year, and they really liked him at the beginning of the season, just got an injury. And then they traded for McCaffrey, so now he's the backup, but it's interesting because he and McCaffrey can be out there coexisting at the same time because of McCaffrey's ability to run routes. He did have 18 carries for 89 yards. Could be a nice little sneaky depth move that a lot of people maybe will be overlooking. So I think maybe he's a guy that you can go re-add and just hope that they keep giving them those packages with both running backs out there at the same time. And, he'll be a little bit valuable.
Also, never know. Christian McCaffrey's got a long injury history. I mean,
that would suck. True.
I love seeing him on the field. I love seeing him as a part of San Fran. I think it's a very, very fun offense to watch, but you just never know given his history. If he goes down, Elijah Mitchell might be honestly the next guy up, especially with so many guys that were a part of the old San Fran backfield now gone. You got to think that he'd be taking over the number one and staying that way.
Yep, and Kyle Shanahan, he's like a little toddler that needs to play with all his toys. So he likes to mix things up and get a lot of different looks and stuff going on out there with the offense. He's like a mad scientist on offense, so he always has something weird dialed up, and you never know what he's really gonna do any given week.
Sure.
Didn't Jimmy Garoppolo have 0 touchdowns again?
Did have 0 touchdowns.
Yeah,
man.
he's.
Yeah.
I saw a stat that he's like 10-2 in games where he throws
yeah.
0 touchdowns.
Crazy.
Yeah,
But
I think that kind of shows that Elijah Mitchell is worth a grab anyway because they're going to use the run game more.
Yep.
especially because he's not sitting there throwing 5 touchdown passes a game. You got to score points somehow, and they're obviously doing it on the ground. So,
Yep.
I like it. All right, surprises of the week.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
All right, thanks, Palp. Good old Palpy over there, giving us the the weekly sound.
Papa Pelt.
Yeah, good old Uncle Palpy. So, my surprise of the week, I got Justin Jefferson just making mincemeat of that shoddy Bills defense. Sorry for all you sad sack Buffalo fans, but you can just go cry in your hot wing sauce. So,
oh my god! Oh my god! Listen,
we got a hater.
Fucking burn central over here. Jesus.
No, that was strictly for my fiance, who is a huge Buffalo Bills fan. So I hope she listens and hears that.
Really?
So that was...
Why? Why is she a Buffalo Bills fan?
She loves Josh Allen.
Oh god. I mean, don't we?
Yep.
Oh god.
She got him in fantasy that first year that he was ever really good, his like breakout year, and he helped her win the league that year. So she's just a huge fan of his.
Understood.
Whatever, dude.
Wow.
That's what I say
what
too.
What a game, though. I mean, probably one of the craziest games all season.
That's one of the craziest.
Game.
That mainly the surprise is that amazing catch that Justin Jefferson had late in the fourth quarter on 4th and 18. It was like a 35-yard pass that he caught on the sideline where he climbed the ladder and there was a Bills, and he reached up with one hand, got a hand on the ball, but there was a Bills defender right behind him that also jumped up, had 2 hands on the ball for what you'd think would be an easy interception, but Justin Jefferson's one hand on the ball was enough to... He just willed it as a catch, and I've never seen anything like that. It looked like an interception, but somehow Jefferson comes away with the ball with a crazy one-handed leaping catch on 4th and 18. Just amazing. Top 5 catches I've ever seen. What a phenomenal play. What a phenomenal player. Really, really awesome game. A really fun game to watch. I think the game of the week. That Bills-Vikings game was very entertaining. And yeah, so that's my surprise.
Can I just say, are the Vikings like a secret Super Bowl contender?
I don't think so.
Really? You know what?
They
think
do
so.
this.
No.
I'm gonna be like Sid from Ice Age. They do this every year.
They're 8-1 every year.
No, but they always they usually look good. They have a good offense, and then they make the playoffs, and they're like a first round exit.
I think this year's different. I just want to say, I think this is this. Remember Seahawks from 2012 when they were like 10-2 and like they finished the season really strong, but nobody was talking about them.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I feel about the Vikings this year. Everyone's talking about the Eagles. Everyone's talking about the Dolphins, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Chargers, but nobody's been talking about the Vikings, and they just beat arguably the best team in the league.
They did, but there's also 9 weeks left in the season. 8 weeks left in the season. So
yeah, but people are still not talking about. I think they're a sleeper, man.
I mean, they're definitely a sleeper. I mean,
everyone's
they're
writing
the
them
best,
off.
They're the best team in the NFC, but I don't know if they're going to get that bye. I'll have to see what happens with Philly and with them in Philly for the bye week in the playoffs. But when they lose their first game to San Francisco, that'll be fun.
Oh my god!
Their
Not a
first
believer.
playoff game.
Not a believer.
Yeah.
True hater.
No, I'm just more of a believer in San Francisco being like a real dark horse because they had a slow start to the year.
Without a quarterback?
They have a quarterback. I mean,
0 touchdown quarterback's going to win the Super Bowl?
Yeah, but he doesn't always throw 0 touchdowns. And I think that Garoppolo and Kirk Cousins are both kind of in the same league. So, that'll be a nice ho-hum average
I'd
game.
agree with that. I can kind of put them in the same the same?
I think Cousins is
No.
a little bit better
You don't
of a
think so?
quarterback.
What? Who do you think is better? You think Cousins is better?
Yes.
Statistically, Cousins is better, but
Well, sure,
I think that they're
statistically.
both about the same, though. Like, I would have to think about which one I would want to trade for, if I was a team, because they're both like Garoppolo. He'll throw no touchdowns, but he'll also throw no interceptions. You know what I mean? Like, he's a pure game manager, whereas Kirk Cousins, he has arguably the best receiver in the game right now to throw to, and he has Adam Thielen as a backup, as a second. He just has a lot of weapons. So he definitely benefits from that.
Starting to sell yourself on the team there a little bit.
Yeah, but anyways, we can get into your surprise there, Jay.
Yeah, no, I like the 49ers too. But my surprise of the week, Jonathan Taylor, is he actually back? He had 22 carries for 147 yards, 6.7 average, 1 touchdown. This is what you drafted him for as the first overall pick. I mean, fucking finally. I mean, it's kind of nice to see if you're an owner.
They get Jeff Saturday in there, and he approves the shooting up of the ankle, I guess. So
I think he's just might be finally back. It was a high ankle sprain, and those do take way longer to heal. And he tried playing through it a couple games, didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad he sat week 9 because obviously it led to this. But
yep, and
man,
just as a response to the people on Reddit, Saturday can play on Sunday.
What?
Jeff Saturday can play.
Oh my god!
And I guess he could probably throw on the pads. He'd probably be a little slow though. Hey, I don't know. Like big win. You got to think that the whole locker room was just like, we're going to go out. We're going to go get this win after all the crap got talked about Saturday, and the entire team and everyone. You got to think that they just went, you know what? We're just going to play. We're going to win this game because Matt Ryan had an amazingly consistent game as well. He played great.
He did.
He wasn't breaking the back of any fantasy, but like he played great for that game. I mean, it was a whole team win. So
yeah, and I had something I was going to say, and I just lost it. What the heck? Why does this always happen to me?
So you might want to talk to a doctor about that.
It was right there. I was going to say, the funny meme that was going around, and it's true that like last week when Jeff Saturday was still an analyst, he tweeted out that, wow, the Raiders look really bad. Yeah. The Raiders look really bad. And then over the weekend after that tweet, he gets hired as the coach, and in his first game beats the Raiders. After last week, he said, oh, the Raiders are pretty bad. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, the memes are a-flowing.
Crazy.
We love it.
Crazy. My biggest surprise that I had on here is somebody that Zach had already talked about, but I had Christian Watson down for wide receiver for Green Bay. After having just a super quiet year up into this point, he all of a sudden had just a really loud game. Second round pick that eventually that all the draft analysts were saying like he was a great second round value. He was the next guy that Aaron Rodgers was going to be able to throw to. Not like a first round talent, but definitely a good pickup. Went 3 touchdowns, 107 yards on 8 targets for the overtime win against the Cowboys, which is a pretty darn good defense.
Yep.
Is this the breakout game or is this the fluke? I guess we won't know until we see next week and the week after. One person that has to be excited, though, it has to be Aaron Rodgers, who was unbelievably upset that his team didn't get him any kind of options for him to throw to with the free agency and at the trade deadline. Might not be his new favorite target like we talked about earlier, but who knows? It's a big game. So if he can continue having relatively decent weeks, then this is the week that they'll look back on forever.
Pretty cool, I guess.
Oh my god!
No, but I do like it. I do like it. I think it's for real. I think it was his breakout game that he's been looking for, that he hasn't been able to have because of just he's a rookie learning the NFL and learning a crazy system. And having a bunch of injuries that he was dealing with too. He finally has been healthy for a couple of weeks now and able to make practices and everything. I think there's a lot going his way right now for him to kind of have a breakout like that. Maybe he can sustain something here for a little while.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, let's get into fantasy relevant. Fantasy relevant injuries. All right, I will run through these really quick. So, Matt Stafford, quarterback, LA Rams. Scratched late from this past Sunday in concussion protocol. Questionable for this week. People are dropping him anyway, whatever. Kyler Murray, quarterback for Arizona, hamstring injury. Hopeful for week 11. How hopeful did it say, Kyle?
Hopeful is what it said.
That's all it says.
I don't remember exactly what it said, but basically it was talking that they're hopeful that he was practicing. He was more like a kind of like a late scratch. It sounded more so that they were just playing it safe and that he was going to be practicing fully this week to try and get in for the game.
Yeah, and hamstrings are tough.
And he will also have prestiged his Call of Duty, so that'll be very good for him.
He's going to have sore thumbs. He's going to come in with thumb injuries.
Good.
Yep.
And Khalil Herbert.
Got a thumb.
No. Khalil Herbert, running back, hip injury. Unknown at this time if he'll miss any significant time. Yikes. Ezekiel Elliott, running back, Dallas, knee. Should be back, and I quote, week 11 against the Vikings. So... he's been a disappointment all year anyway, right?
He started out pretty well, but now he's just kind of fallen back into the injury track that he normally falls onto every year.
Yeah. Leonard Fournette, running back, Tampa Bay, hip injury. Bye week is up next. Possibly could be back for week 12. So we'll see what they do.
Don't like those hip injuries, man.
Yeah, and he's just with his injury history, you're always worried about him.
Sure.
Besides the ankles and knees, hips are a big part of running backs. For other pivoting and juking and stuff, so that's rough.
For sure.
Yep. Cooper Kupp, wide receiver, LA Rams, ankle, expected to miss some time. Wow, that's being called a high ankle sprain right now.
That's the team. What are they going to do? He's got an office over there and everything.
Yeah, maybe they grab Odell again because Odell said he's ready to come back, and
yeah, maybe
he's ramping up his. People are picking him up in fantasy. Actually, we talked about him last week, but. Yeah, they could be grabbing Odell. Jamar Chase, wide receiver, Cincinnati, torn labrum/hip fracture. Possibility of returning in week 12. Wow. Okay.
Wow.
He was not placed on injured reserve. That's surprising.
I know.
That's good news.
I saw that and I couldn't believe it. But they're saying that he can play through the torn labrum just by wearing the brace that a lot of the guys do. It was a stress fracture to his hip that he wasn't going to be able to play with, but it's saying that he's above schedule. It's kind of like a doubtful for week 12, but still of a possibility that they're saying.
So they are going to wheel him in for the game, huh?
Well, it's not even this week. He's got another 2
he's got another week.
Possible, but they're saying that
bring him in on the hospital bed. He's on the full body cast.
Jesus. Juju Smith-Schuster, wide receiver, Kansas City, concussion protocol. Yikes. Keenan Allen, wide receiver, LA Chargers. Yeah, whatever. Maybe back, maybe not. Who knows? Nobody knows. The guy who got shot twice came back sooner, so I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, Denver, ankle injury, MRI today. It kind of sucks because he's just getting rhythm, but most likely out for next week regardless, if not longer than that. So, yikes. Lost season. Mike Williams, wide receiver, LA Chargers, ankle sprain, questionable versus doubtful for week 11. Versus doubtful. Wow.
Yeah, they were saying that it's questionable, probably more so doubtful, but that they were trying to be optimistic about it. But with how he's been this entire year, it's more so probably doubtful in your mind.
Yikes. Have they had their bye yet?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I'll check this week.
No, they did because I have Austin Eckler in the league and he had his bye. So yeah.
Okay.
So they're not trying to rest him for getting a bye week. So he must really be hurting.
Yeah. Mark Andrews, tight end, Baltimore, shoulder injury, questionable for return this week against Carolina. Oh, you got to hope he's back for that game. Whew.
God, yeah, you can imagine his return. You have Likely, who was playing really well in his spot. God, if he comes back against Carolina, big game.
Yeah, I'd say he's likely to catch a touchdown.
Oh my god!
Are you gonna take it to the bank? Let's see what numbers Vegas is gonna give you. I'll put something down on it.
Oh my god! Zach Ertz, tight end, Arizona, knee injury, out for the remainder of the season. Yikes! David Njoku. What?
He does have a winner's name, so
oh my god!
At least he can hold on to that.
David Njoku, tight end, Cleveland, ankle injury, hopeful for return this week. Darren Waller, I mean, this one's a huge disappointment. Tight end, placed on injured reserve this past Thursday with a left hamstring strain. So out at least, isn't that minimum 4 weeks?
4 weeks minimum, yep.
Yep.
And then Hunter Renfrow, wide receiver, hamstring and ribs injury, placed on IR this past Thursday. So that sucks.
Yeah, a
Minimum
lot of
4
dingers.
games.
A lot of dingers. Fuck.
And it is a contact sport. What's crazy is my basketball injuries is just as long of a list.
Yeah.
It's all these guys just, I don't know, man. Let's go into buy lows for trade targets. My buy low is DeAndre Swift. He has been mediocre since returning from injury, but we all know he can produce at a high level when fully healthy, and I expect a big second half from him. And also, like the first game back, they did officially announce that he had a carries cap, and I think it's been unofficial the past 2 games because it's been around the same. It's been 5-2-6, so I think he's still under that cap, and they haven't fully let him loose yet. So I think this is your chance to get him. You can look at the first 2 weeks. I mean, 15-5, and then week 3 had 7 carries. I think it's more towards should be more towards 10 carries or more.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time because even though he's on the carries limit, shout out to the coaching staff for having the player's best interest at heart. That not always the case on every team. They just don't want anything crazy happening with their star running back. But even though he's on a carries cap, the last couple of weeks with the limited amount of touches, the explosiveness is there. It's whenever he gets the full load of carries back, you can expect big numbers because he is still running with the full head of steam and he's looking jacked and looking like his normal self out there. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
So, I believe whenever they do let him loose, he is poised for a good second half. I definitely agree.
Yeah. And I was looking at the schedule and he's got some really good games for when fantasy playoffs are going on. Like, it depends on when your playoffs start, but week 15, I think a lot of people have playoffs, is the New York Jets. Week 16, Carolina. Week 17, Chicago. I mean,
yeah.
For that alone and like how you could get him as a buy low right now for the low production, I think I really want him. Really want to throw something at it.
Yeah, there you go.
What do you think, Kyle?
I don't know why you would ever try and turn down an RB1.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
Yeah. If you can get him for a buy low, I mean that's a guy that could absolutely take you there on a high powered offense that just scored. What do they have? 33,
31,
31.
Maybe it was 33,
32. I don't know, something like that. But they scored plus 30 points. So I think that's absolutely the guy that I'm picking up.
There you
31 to 30.
Yeah, can't argue with that logic. But my buy low here, Chris Godwin. Dude gets a good amount of targets. He's on a normally pretty high scoring offense. You think that they're starting to get back to their scoring ways, it looks like. And they're all starting to get healthier too. I think they just had a lot of injuries at the same time to start the year, especially Godwin coming off that ACL and coming back, after 6 months from an ACL injury or 7-8 months, whatever it was, less than a year, which is pretty insane. And the fact that he was out there for the week 1, I figured it would take him a few weeks, a little while to get back into the groove. Just this last game, he had 6 catches for 71 yards and a tutty. So, maybe he's starting to get on the right track. And then now he's got a rest. He's got a bye week now to rest. And, you think that he'll be even more healthy to come out of there for the rest of the year. And maybe you get yourself a nice little flex wide receiver too for the rest of the year for your playoffs and everything. So go give it a shot.
My God. Yeah, I think this will be a lot easier of a guy to get than Swift, and he's got big upside. Yep. I mean,
big.
Yeah, it sucks that he did have like his best game of the year so far, but they have a bye week. Maybe you still have a chance at him.
Let me take a whack at it.
Yeah.
Go for it, buddy. For mine, I had Najee Harris, running back in Pittsburgh. So he's only had, up until this point, he has only had 3 games above 10 points, but he has had one heck of a lineup so far. I mean, it's honestly really hard. Cincinnati, New England, Cleveland, Jets, Buffalo, Tampa, Miami, and then Philadelphia before going on the bye.
He's played all the top 10 defenses the first 10 weeks.
That is literally like probably one of the toughest running lineups that you could go against. And he's only gotten above 10 3 times. However, he's got a little bit easier down the stretch. Got Cincinnati coming up again, which will be a little more difficult, but then Indianapolis, Atlanta, Baltimore, which will kind of suck, but then Carolina, Las Vegas, Baltimore again, and then Cleveland finished out. So some pretty good-looking games coming up in the future. This is a guy that this past game got 20 attempts with 99 yards, finished with 9.9 fantasy points and half PPR. This is a guy that you could probably, I would imagine, buy low, having the fact that he doesn't really score a whole bunch of points. He's basically below 10 every time. Try and see what you can get him for with these nice games coming up. He could be a nice flex play for you trying to push towards the playoffs.
That's a good one. I like that. I like that one.
Yeah, I like it a lot, and his schedule is also very nice for 2 weeks of the fantasy playoffs at least. Sure. Week 15, Carolina. Week 16, the Raiders. So
sure.
Yeah, that'll be
better than the first weeks that he had. The second half of the season is so much better. I didn't realize that that Pittsburgh schedule was that hard to begin
they were
the season.
A number 1 seed last year, weren't they?
Oh, they were up there. That's why they had a rough
schedule.
But
they started like 10-1 last year, and then they fell off or something.
But even if they didn't have a good finish last year, good record last year, they're in one of the tougher defensive divisions where they play 6. They have 6 games a year where it's very tough, especially with the good defensive lines on all those teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they still got Baltimore twice, so that's something to look out for.
Sure, those are for sure going to be tough. But he's got.
But those two games that you mentioned, those games will bring him into the top 20.
Yeah, you would hope so. Otherwise, you busted.
Sure. But you never know. It could also be what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
This was a first round pick in fantasy because of how many times he got last year. So these people that drafted him that high are absolutely frustrated. If you can try,
they are. I can tell you that I am.
Speaking like someone who absolutely knows, but
it is a sad existence. I can confirm.
But if you could try to get him low, I would buy him low.
Yep, I will take your offer. So send it over.
Jake, who do you have for sell high?
All right, yeah, let's go into sell highs. I have Deontay Foreman. He went beast mode again. We were talking about him as a sell high a couple weeks ago.
Do we trust him?
Oh my god. He was harder to sell though because he only had 2 weeks of doing this. Then he had a dud against Cincinnati, and then he went off again here against Atlanta. 130 yards and a touchdown on 31 carries. I mean, this might be peak level. I know there's the 1 week he had 3 touchdowns, but both of these were against Atlanta. So if you really think about it,
plays well
I would definitely want him off my team. Try to capitalize because he's definitely not as good as those 2 games, I think, overall. And he's 80% rostered. Maybe people are, that's a month of good play. So
sure.
I'm trying to get something for him.
He's got Baltimore next week, but then he goes on a bit of a run here, especially for playoff time. He goes Denver week 12, then he's got a week 13 bye week, and then he goes Seattle, Pittsburgh, and Detroit 14, 15, 16. Tampa Bay on week 17. So, I mean, decent schedule. He is running back 1, but I can also see why, you would try and sell him. But I think there will be decent weeks for him ahead, but, take it with a grain of salt because he's an unproven player.
Yeah, 3 games over 100 yards, and then, it's just hard to, I'm a little skeptical, I'd be trying to capitalize.
Yeah, I totally, because there's a lot of unknowns with him. He hasn't ever been a running back 1, so.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you hold tight, It's just see if you can get something that's little more consistent, I would maybe package him for one of the guys we were just talking about.
Yeah,
And buy
there you go.
lows.
Sure.
I got Devontae Smith. The Eagles, they don't throw it. They don't throw it a lot, and he is the second or sometimes third option with Dallas Goedert as their tight end. So, maybe try and move him for some consistency for the weeks ahead and your playoff push. He did have a pretty good week this week. You're gonna see a fumble on there, but don't be alarmed. That was a fumble on he was trying to do a trick play. Like at the end of the game, they were trying to do the razzle dazzle miracle, keep tossing it back until get a guy to run into the end zone play, and he fumbled it on that. So that fumble I would put an asterisk next to. It's not like crazy fumble there, but try and move him for some consistency because he had a good week now, and maybe you can try and get a guy that's not so hot and cold.
Very hard player to roster because you don't know when to throw him in your flex.
Yep.
Sure,
It's,
totally. It's also frustrating because of how good of an offense the Eagles are. So you're looking at points, and you're like, okay, come on, this has got to go his way. It's got to swing his way this week, and then it doesn't. So
yeah,
definitely package him if you can. It's gonna be hard.
Yep.
Sure.
But even if there's just one more good week, I think that might be a even better chance.
Sure. And then I have to round it out. I have Devin Singletary, running back for Buffalo. Second best game of the year for him at 15.2 points, half PPR, 47 rushing yards on 13 attempts with 2 touchdowns. Did lose a fumble, which would have had him at 17 points. Still would have been the second best game of the year regardless. But this is a crowded backfield. They've got 3 other people that they kind of like to use in these packages. Instead of the 49ers kind of being this running back by committee, we're kind of starting to see Buffalo become like that now, using all these different people.
Mm-hmm.
If he keeps getting used like this, he could be another LeGarrette Blount at the goal line.
Roll another blunt.
Trying to see if you can... that was good. That was really good. But trying to see if you can maybe sell him high on him right now, especially because he does play the Lions and the Browns next week. But even so, he's played easy opponents in the past, and he hasn't really done a whole lot fantasy-wise. See if you can talk him up. See if you can maybe get someone back who's a little bit more consistent week to week.
There you go. In full agreement on this one.
I've tried to sell this guy in one of my leagues I'm in, and it's just I wasn't able to. It's going to probably have to be a package deal, honestly, because people are aware of him, I think, at this point. He's just been probably a guy you got later at running back when you had to fill in the position because you weren't able to draft running backs well enough,
Yeah, single Terry for all the single Terry owners, huh?
Oh my God. But yeah, after a 2 touchdown week, this is one of your best chances.
I think this is probably your best chance right here. Yeah.
Or is it like last year where he finished the year strong?
I mean, if they keep giving him all the goal line touches, that's what that does make him it makes you raise your eye a little bit, like, because you like that goal line work, but they got so many options on that team. I don't think this is going to be an every week thing, just because there's Dawson Knox, there's Gabe Davis, there's Stephon Diggs, there's Josh Allen who likes to run it. You know what I mean? There's Isaiah McKenzie who gets red zone looks, like they do trick plays. They're all over the place. I don't think that you can look to one week and think that they're gonna do the same thing.
I bet if you packaged him with somebody, you could get Harris.
I could see it. I think that would be good. I think you could definitely do that. Singletary for Harris, and that'd be
Yeah, probably with somebody,
but
yeah. See what you can do.
Yep. Give it a go.
Oh, he was drafted 5th round? I thought he was a later pick.
Who? Singletary?
Wow. In fantasy, 5th round.
In our league, or you mean in all leagues?
In one of the leagues I'm in.
Maybe
it was Deanna.
I picked him up in ours.
Later.
I picked him up in ours. I can't remember where I picked him up, though.
Let me look.
I thought it was later than 5th. I can't imagine I picked him up.
You grabbed him 6th.
Okay,
Dang.
I was close.
I definitely thought it was later, but I mean,
that's just
people,
probably about where
you know
he was
what?
at the top of the ranks, you know.
He moved up the draft board because he finished like the last 5 weeks really strong last year.
And I think Zach Moss was like starting the year with an injury or something too. So
yeah. Well, we were also just really, I think before the season, we were just really on the Bills trying to make a run at it this year, that they were going to be the team after losing out last year and just so close every single time going to the playoffs and then getting out of it, that they were going to come back strong. And they've been good. I don't think as good as I guess what I thought they were going to be, but
yeah, I mean they have had injuries. They don't have their all pro cornerback back healthy yet with his ACL injury. Tre'Davious White, he's coming back within the next week or two. And they also are missing their 2 all pro safeties right now. Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde are both out right now. So I mean they're missing 3 of their all pro players in the secondary, which really made their defense like one of the best. So
yeah.
It's rough sauce out there for them right now. They're trying their best out there, those Bills.
Oh my gosh.
Those poor guys, they're just trying their best.
Well, they got the ageless wonder defensive lineman. So at least that's
Von Miller, he's looking pretty good.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, dude. I don't know how he's doing it.
I don't know. Maybe he's taking a page out of Tom Brady's book or something. I don't know.
Now, who was that guy who played for the Bears and then the Packers that played like almost 20 years? Or 15?
20 years. Jeez, I don't know.
Peppers.
Julius Peppers.
Oh, Julius Peppers. Yeah, true. Yeah,
he's like one of those guys who treats his body like a temple. And
yeah, true.
Yeah, is he the guy? There's not the basketball player that like would take baths in red wine.
No, it was Peppers. Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, there's some crazy stuff about him out there. Yeah. Well, you wouldn't
of anything
either.
Red wine
like,
out of anything? Like I don't know. That's weird, dude.
Good for your skin or something? I don't know.
Yeah, there's
antioxidants.
There's antioxidants. There's stories of basketball players doing that too. I remember.
Okay.
From back in the day. But I digress. That's for another podcast.
That'll be the new one we make. Garden of Sports
conspiracies
theories. Yeah.
Well, if you heard all the conspiracies about like a lot of professional players go to Europe and that's where they get like shot up for growth hormones and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's our Better Home and Garden of Sports podcast coming out. When we talk about taking your baths with red wine and all the health benefits of that. Right, Jake?
I can imagine how expensive that is.
Very, very, lots of very, very interesting talk.
Nailed it. Man, I'm sold.
Yeah, so we're rambling on, and and if you're still listening, if you're still listening at this point, you better hit that like and subscribe and leave us a comment. Tell us how much you love listening to us, because you just can't turn us off. Hit that notification bell so you get notified when we're putting up new episodes, because you don't want to miss it. You want to get the up to the minute analysis of like what guys to pick up for your fantasy rosters. So with that, leave us that subscribe, comment, all that, and go follow us on our social media. We got facebook.com/Garden of Sports podcast. We have Instagram, instagram.com/Garden of Sports, and we have twitter.com/GOSpod 2021. Go follow us on there. It'll be really fun, and we will be back here next week with a fresh fantasy football episode. Woohoo!
Yes, sir. Thanks, everyone.
So, see you guys.
Here's everyone.